I look at ordinary people in their suits, he said. They have no scars on their faces, and I'm different from those people. I don't fit in with them. I'm among those where everybody has scar tissue on their eyes and noses like saddles. I go to these old-timers conventions, old fighters like me, and I see the scar tissue and all those flat noses. They're beautiful. He was born Wilfred Willie Pastrano on November 27, 1935, in New Orleans, Louisiana. His Italian father worked as a steamship cook who fattened young Willie up with spaghetti and then beat him with a belt for not striking back at the neighborhood bullies who called him a fatso. Wanting to lose weight, Pastrano entered the St. Mary's CYO gym with a friend and future pro boxer named Ralph Dupaz. When the 213-pound 12-year-old walked through the door, everyone stopped and laughed at him. But a one-legged trainer named Whitey Enault came to his rescue. "Don't laugh," Enault said. "One of these days, that fat boy will beat all your asses." Pastrano began working out in the early afternoon, too embarrassed by his weight to be around the other boys in the evening. Enault instructed Pastrano to do road work in the morning and then placed him under a diet, allowing him only one meal per day. Within a year, the young man trimmed down to 126 pounds. "I didn't have any idea of fighting," Pastrano said. "I just wanted to be normal-sized. Every night I prayed, 'Please let me lose weight. Please let me lose weight.'" Pastrano then made a go at boxing competitively, imitating a stablemate named Bernard Ducasin and mastering the New Orleans style. Enault had him running backwards and sideways. He tied Willie's hands behind his back and for several months drilled him to dodge punches without relying on his arms for defense. When Willie was 15, one of the prelim boxers scheduled to fight turned up drunk. Enault asked Pastrano if he wanted to come in as a substitute, offering him $50 to make his professional debut. The broke teenager jumped at the chance. Lying about his age, Pastrano became a teenage sensation in New Orleans. He perfected Enault's style of boxing, hit 3 times and disappear, jab and move away, while his opponents missed punches on their way to defeat. He had 5 pro fights in New Orleans before the Louisiana Boxing Commission caught wind that both Pastrano and Ralph Dupaz were underage. Trainer Enault sent the fighters to Miami Beach, where they could continue their careers under the guidance of the Dundee brothers, Angelo and Chris. "That's where I made my biggest mistake," Enault said. "That's how I lost them both." Angelo Dundee placed Pastrano on a milk diet and the fighter bulked up from featherweight to welterweight. Dundee noticed that the fighter's mood improved when he gave him the milk and later realized that Pastrano spiked the drink with whiskey. Nonetheless, Pastrano kept winning, campaigning throughout Miami Beach and New Orleans. He defeated Jimmy Martinez, Jackie LaBua, Bobby Dykes, and Tony Johnson before getting his first televised exposure against Al Andrews at Chicago Stadium.
Show tonight with his dazzling footwork, his good left jab, fine right cross. That was Andrews being spun through the ropes by Willie Pastrano. Now with 30 seconds to go, the crowd applauding.
Judge James McManus, 100-89 for Willie Pastrano. The unanimous winner is Willie Pastrano.
So it's a unanimous win for Willie Pastrano, getting 10 rounds from referee Sikora and from Judge McManus, and at least a margin of 7-3 from Ed Hintz, as the kid from New Orleans put on a tremendous exhibition.
By 1955, Pastrano was going back and forth between the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions, defeating Joey Maxim, Rex Lane, Pat McMurtry, and Charlie Norkus. But his love for the nightlife and women caused him to look sluggish on occasion. During a trip to Britain in 1957, trainer Angelo Dundee caught Pastrano in bed with the hotel maid. Dundee chastised the fighter, whose excuse was, "I like breakfast in bed." A good-looking broad would come around, and Willie's nose would pop up and down like a rabbit's, Dundee said. I used to tell him, "It's not the sex that's bad for you, it's the chase. The idea, the expectation. That's what wears you out." But he never listened. By 1958, Pastrano was fighting exclusively in the heavyweight division, rising as high as number 3 in the ratings, knocking on the door for a title shot against Floyd Patterson. Dundee's assistant trainer, Lou Gross, said that Pastrano was the only guy who could beat the feared rising contender, Sonny Liston. Pastrano's reply was, quote, "Yeah, I got Liston's number. It's a 38 or 45. Pastrano fought to a draw with the legendary Archie Moore in 1962, and in 1963, lucked into a fight with light heavyweight champion Harold Johnson. Johnson was supposed to defend against Mauro Mina, but the challenger suffered a detached retina and had to cancel. Henry Hank was then signed to face Johnson, but he suffered a broken nose in training. An offer was made to contender Wayne Thornton, but his manager refused. As a last resort, the promoter reached out to Pastrano, but he refused. "You've been fighting 15 years, Angelo Dundee said. Any fight may be your last. How can you pass up a shot at the title? Anything can happen. You can get lucky. You can butt him and open up an eye." Pastrano kept saying no, upping his demands until he was guaranteed $20,000 for the fight and $1,500 for expenses. Reluctantly, he signed for the fight and came in as a 6-1 underdog.
Harold Johnson, the champion, is wearing the white trunk, and Willie Pastrano the black. Round 1, it's scheduled for 15. Two of the greatest of boxers in there, the scientific type. Both have good left jabs. Pastrano probably a bit faster of foot. Johnson the better counter puncher. Friedman's running for us. Johnson off guard with that surge. Johnson white trunks. Johnson the champion, the light heavyweight champion. Bout is scheduled for 15. Johnson finally nailed him. The round has and meet Sonny Liston for the gloves. This is the final round. No knockdowns in the fight. Crowd has seemed to like it all. There's the final bell. See, no hard feelings. Scoring here in Nevada, the 5-point must system. 5 points to the winner of a round, 4 or less to the loser. We'll have the decision and an interview with the winner in just a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a split decision. Referee Jimmy Olivas scores 69 for Pastrano, 68 for Johnson.
One vote for Willie Pastrano.
Judge John Romero scores 69 Johnson, 68 Pastrano.
One vote for Johnson. This is the big one.
Judge Harry Krause scores 69 Pastrano, 67 Johnson. The winner and new light heavyweight champion of the world, Willie Pastrano.
Jeff, what was that last count? I didn't hear it in the bedroom.
Last count, Don, was 69 Pastrano, 67 for Johnson, as scored by Harry Krause, the judge.
The decision was hotly disputed, with the majority of the television viewing audience feeling that Johnson won. It was said that Harold Johnson did not get a return shot at Willie Pastrano for 2 reasons. One, there was no return clause in the contract, and the other was that Willie Pastrano was not stupid. Still, he returned home to a full-blown airport reception. There were flowers for his wife and a speech by the mayor. Pastrano was placed in a convertible and enjoyed a ride home through a parade. 3 months later, Pastrano lost a non-title match to Gregorio Peralta before the two rematched in April of 1964, with Pastrano's light heavyweight title on the line. Pastrano had developed an obsession with astrology, insisting that the date of the fight be changed from the 24th to the 10th of April, because that is what his astrologer instructed. He later went to the grave of Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen of New Orleans. After placing an offering of passion flowers on the gravesite, he said, quote, "I don't believe all that garbage they say about you. I just want to ask you one thing. Give me a good right hand on April 10th. According to Pastrano, he went right hand crazy during the fight, throwing it even when he didn't want to. Pastrano stopped Peralta on cuts in 5 rounds. In his second defense, he took on Terry Downs in the challenger's native England. Downs dominated a listless Pastrano, prompting trainer Angelo Dundee to berate the fighter after the 10th round, insulting his ability and parenthood. Pastrano was so enraged that he lunged at Dundee, but the trainer stopped him. "You mad at me?" Dundee asked. "Don't be mad at me. There's the sucker you should be mad at. He's taken your title."
And now Pastrano has found some footwork from somewhere. Look at him going. This is Pastrano now trying to dazzle his man, and he's got him with the right hand, but Downs is going. Round 11. And Downs is struggling to avoid defeat now. And he's over. The first knockdown. There's 1 minute and 3/4 left of this round, and Downs is in serious trouble. And Pastrano may have him. It looks to be as though Pastrano's got him. Downs has worn himself out against Pastrano. Can he weather it? We're only just over halfway through the round. And Andy Smythe is stopping it. It's all over. It's all over. And Pastrano has retained the light heavyweight championship.
5 months later, Pastrano defended his belt against the rising Jose Torres at Madison Square Garden. getting paid a career high of $100,000. Pastrano promised himself he'd quit if he was ever knocked down. True to his word, he retired at the age of 30. He was offered $50,000 to face Torres in a rematch in Puerto Rico, but Pastrano turned it down. He now regretted leaving original trainer Whitey Enolt as he became disenchanted with the Dundee brothers. "I wanted out from the Dundee umbrella," Pastrano said, "but I didn't realize how big that umbrella was. I was safe in the ring because I always know who was trying to hit me. Outside the ring, I didn't know who my enemies were." Pastrano's longtime stablemate, Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, tried to convince the now ex-champion not to retire. "I'm not washed up physically, Cassius," Pastrano said. "I'm washed up mentally. One day I train and look good. The next day, I'm like a wet rag." "No, you're like me," Ali shouted. "You're like Sugar Ray, one day up, one day down. Me, I fight through those downs." But Pastrano didn't share Ali's sentiments and found his post-boxing life depressing. "I was lonely," Pastrano said. "I had nobody. I had nothing." He dabbled a bit in acting, getting parts in Florida schlockmeister William Graffet's movies.
Wildest of the wild ones. Savage, starring Steve Alamo, Willie Pastrano. Their way.
But the acting gigs weren't enough to keep Pastrano occupied. He turned to heroin and cocaine, becoming broke and addicted. "Everything I fought for all my life was going down the drain," Pastrano said. "It was like trying to climb a glass mountain. I was slipping right back into the hole I had left as a kid. I was always sick. That stuff was mummifying me. It got to a point where I couldn't move anymore." Needing money to fuel his addiction, he began breaking and entering into stores, homes, and yachts. I was sneaking in like a dog, Pastrano said. He lived a nomadic life, bouncing from Miami, Oklahoma City, and Las Vegas. He endured long stretches of unemployment in between jobs of salesman, strip joint bouncer, and security guard. Pastrano said he reached his low point while working as a greeter in a casino. When a customer shouted, "Hey champ, go get me some chips," Pastrano quit on the spot. His ego couldn't handle taking orders getting shouted at by strangers across the room. Later, heroin put him in 3 mental institutions and 3 different hospitals. The last resort was to give him electroshock treatment. Pastrano refused and quit drugs cold turkey in 1969. But the years of heroin use took its toll. 11 of his teeth were pulled and he visited more psychologists than he could count. I always left them with their heads spinning, Pastrano said. His wife divorced him, but he still saw his children. In 1977, he told a reporter, quote, "My life reminds me of Humpty Dumpty. I just can't get all the pieces glued back together." The one remaining memento he had of his boxing days was his old championship belt, but he had sold all the diamonds out of it to get money for his heroin habit. By 1980, he found work as a boxing coach at the New Orleans Recreation Department, at one point training middleweight contender Tony Licata. Pastrano gained weight, now weighing the same as he did as a 213-pound 12-year-old. He lamented the fact that his life had come full circle. "I first started fighting because I was a fat kid and wanted to be somebody," Pastrano said. "Now I am fat again and a nobody. Just another fat cat nobody recognizes." Pastrano was later diagnosed with inoperable liver cancer, which spread across his body. He died on December 6, 1997, at the age of 62. He was totally broke on Social Security when he died, Pastrano's eldest son, Johnny, said. He did a book. It didn't do anything. I saw him loan $5,000 to a man. He never got it back. He was an easy touch. He'd give the shirt off his back to a man who needed it. He had a good heart. In one of Pastrano's final interviews, he talks about a psychiatrist who told him he had Venetian blinds over his eyes, which he pulled shut frequently. "I just didn't want to see bad pictures," that's what he told me, Pastrano said. "But now I have no doubts about what I am. I am yesterday. This is today. Nobody asks me for autographs anymore."